Somehow, even shows about cannibals and serial killers can cross a line in the eyes of fans. From animal cruelty to gruesome deaths of fan-favorite characters, these were the TV scenes disturbing enough to turn people off from entire series. Early in its run, The Walking Dead had some of the most deeply affecting scenes that TV had ever seen, with children becoming walkers and loved ones eating their own kin. Even so, viewers weren't turned off by the violence. Instead, they ate it up weekly and made the series a bona fide phenomenon. At the start of Season 7, however, one moment in particular shook many viewers to their core. The season premiere, The Day Will Come When You Won't Be, saw the horrific conclusion to the previous season's cliffhanger, in which the megalomaniacal villain Negan lined up survivors intending to bash them with his barbed bat.
I'm gonna beat the holy hell out of one of you.
After smashing Abraham's head to a bloody pulp, he turns his attention to Glenn and proceeds to slaughter him in a moment so nausea-inducing it sent fans scurrying as Glenn whimpered Maggie's name in his final breath. As some Redditors observed, even the show's many graphic scenes up to this point didn't prepare them for such immense carnage, with some even claiming they stopped watching the show altogether after the brutal sequence. While Star Trek has had its share of more adult moments, it's usually been family-friendly. That began to change when it came back to TV in 2017, with Star Trek Discovery, which occasionally earned a TV MA rating. In 2020, the long-awaited sequel Star Trek Picard pushed the boundaries further, and the fifth episode, Stardust City Rag, went too far for some viewers. The episode opened with one of the most shocking and graphic scenes in the franchise's history, as a beloved character from Star Trek Voyager made his return in a brutal torture scene. Taken captive by a sadistic villain, the former Borg drone Icheb is strapped down and has his eyeball plugged out of its socket in full view of the camera. Though this scene doesn't go anywhere other adult dramas haven't gone before, it's affected plenty of Trekkies who didn't expect such a disturbing and gory moment in what had ordinarily been a family show. As one parent wrote on TrekMovie.com, "The Icheb scene is way over what I want to see and experience. Star Trek is a show I want to put on and watch with my son, without having fear of sending him to a psychological doctor." Centered on the life of bitter and burdensome father Frank Gallagher, Shameless stars Emmy Rossum as his eldest daughter Fiona. With her mother estranged from the family, Fiona is left to become a mother and caretaker to her siblings. It's not until Season 2 that Fiona's real mother, Monica, is introduced to the series. Though she tries to make up for lost time and be the mother Fiona never had, she can't overcome her own demons. Despite her best efforts, it all falls apart in a scene that has scarred more than one fan of the series. While the family is celebrating Thanksgiving, Monica tries to take her own life on the kitchen floor. Though her boyfriend is able to get help and save her in time, Fiona is left to clean up the bloody aftermath. The dark sequence of events upset many viewers, with many Shameless fans on Reddit acknowledging that the episode forced them to relive their own experiences with suicide and other traumas. The Handmaid's Tale is based on the beloved dystopian sci-fi novel by Margaret Atwood and has excelled as one of the more disturbing visions of a dark future. It follows the life of June Osborne, a young woman whose life is turned upside down when the government enacts a brutal patriarchal regime that turns women into slaves overnight. Filled with social allegory, the series has been critically acclaimed since it first premiered. But right out of the gate, it provided a scene that has left many extremely troubled and reluctant to sit through it more than once. On a Reddit thread asking which TV scenes have disturbed viewers the most, one user highlighted the very first scene of the series, which depicts June and her daughter Hannah being kidnapped. The agonizing sound of Hannah's screams cements the scene as historically horrifying, and it makes her later encounters with her mother all the more heart-wrenching. When it comes to scenes that hit viewers hardest, there are few more guilty offenders than the Futurama episode Jurassic Park. If you've ever watched the show, you're almost certain to agree that the episode's ending scene is so emotional that even if you can't bring yourself to rewatch it, it's clear why so many fans can't bear it. The episode sees Fry discovering the fossilized remains of his dog Seymour, some 1,000 years after his pet has perished. The episode ends with Fry's sad realization that Seymour lived 15 more years without him and had likely found a new best friend and forgotten their time together.
Think about it. Seymour lived a full life after I was gone. He probably even added new songs to his repertoire.
If that wasn't tear-jerking enough, the episode's final scene shows Seymour back in the past, hopelessly waiting on the sidewalk through rain, sleet, and snow for Fry to return to his side. As the years pass, we see Seymour grow old and die, lost and alone without his beloved best human friend. What hit viewers so hard, though, was how real life made it all the more poignant. As one Redditor observed, the cartoon sequence highlights the fact that there are many real people out there who treat their loyal pets poorly, or outright abandon them. As important as this is to remember, that might not be something viewers want to tune into a cartoon to be reminded of. The Outer Limits is no stranger to unsettling moments and scenes that send shivers up your spine. Even so, despite all the classic episodes the franchise has produced, there's one moment that is far more disturbing than the rest. And it comes from an episode of the revival series called Simon Says. The episode stars Academy Award winner Joel Grey as an inventor and engineer who hopes to replace his dead son with a robot duplicate. The problem is that the resulting creation doesn't have a good grasp of human morality or its own dangerous capabilities, and soon becomes a misguided tormentor. As dark as that concept is on its own, the scene where Simon is innocently petting a cat is what has fans of the show wishing they'd never tuned in.
Oh, she never lets me pet her. Daddy got her for me, but she doesn't like me.
Sadly, while Simon believes he's casually feeling the kitty's soft fur, he's actually mutilating it with his sharp robot fingers. As a Reddit user pointed out, what's particularly unsettling about this scene is Simon's uncanny robotic mannerisms are what makes the sequence especially grating to witness. Skins is a British drama about a group of teens, and has been applauded by its fans for its grounded, gritty, and realistic take on the life of young people. It dealt with serious issues like sex, drugs, and mental health, and did so with a refreshing frankness in the late 2000s that made it a favorite of many teen viewers. However, the show wrote off one of its most popular characters, Freddie McClare, in such a brutal way it left an impact on many of its loyal fans. In the 7th episode of the show's 4th season, Freddie's girlfriend Effie asks him to inform a psychiatrist that she no longer wants to see him after he reveals that he's in love with her. Unfortunately, Freddie's visit leads to a fight for his life when the psychiatrist bludgeons him to death with a baseball bat so he can have Effie to himself. Even though it mostly happens off-screen, it's enough to send viewers into a psychological tailspin. As one Reddit user wrote, "That scene will actually haunt me until the day I die." The scene proves so unnerving that more than a decade later, a professional reviewer for Elle magazine wrote an entire op-ed about its life-changing effect on her. In 2010, satirist Charlie Brooker crafted Black Mirror, a contemporary contribution to the genre of sci-fi anthologies like The Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits. Updated for the 21st century, stories are more focused on modern social issues and the dangers of technology. And its first episode featured a scene so painful to watch that many decided they never would again. The opening episode involves the Prime Minister of Britain being blackmailed into having sexual intercourse with a pig to save the life of a royal family member who has been taken hostage. The scene where the PM goes through with the act might still be the most shocking in the show's history. And some have pointed out that the decision to kick off the series with such a disturbing first installment may be part of the problem. As one Reddit user wrote, "I heard so many glowing raves about the show. I decided to give it a try since it seemed like something I'd love. A year has passed since I saw episode 1, and I can't bring myself to even consider watching episode 2. It seems they weren't alone, as another Redditor explained that they too knew of many people who had stopped after that fateful first episode. Nevertheless, despite scores of online comments from viewers who'd refused to watch another episode, Black Mirror went on to become a smash hit, and that harrowing first episode was followed by 26 more, and a made-for-streaming movie. Before actor Thomas Gibson was booted from Criminal Minds after an on-set altercation with a producer, he played Special Agent Aaron Hotchner for 12 seasons. At the outset of the series, Hotch is married to a woman named Haley, and the pair remained close even after their divorce. Despite not being together, Hotch was left broken when he was forced to listen to his ex-wife's death, and it proved almost as traumatic for audiences as it did for him. In the episode 100, Hotch and the team are tracking a deadly serial killer named Foyette. However, the murderer's next target is Hotch's ex-wife and their young son, and despite the team's attempts at keeping them safe, Foyette takes them prisoner. Foyette then calls Hotch and puts him on the phone with Haley. The agent then listens as the killer puts a bullet through his ex-wife's head. It seems that the visceral setup and portrayal of the murder was a disturbingly perfect storm for viewers, with several Redditors commenting that the episode stuck with them for a long time after their initial viewing. Even though it was a comedy, MASH was never afraid to go dark. Known for mixing melancholy themes with black humor, even a show set in the middle of a bloody war seems to have crossed the line in the eyes of its viewers. What's particularly impressive about this scene is that it remains unsettling despite barely showing anything on screen. The event in question happened during the show's 2-hour series finale, Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen. Hawkeye begins the episode by describing a recent incident where he'd helped a busload of refugees stay clear of an enemy attack, recalling that he had to tell a woman to silence her screaming chickens. Later, however, we learn that when the woman had to kill her cargo to save the entire group of refugees, it was no chicken she held, but her own baby. For both avid MASH fans and people completely unfamiliar with the series, the episode still left quite an impact. As one Reddit user wrote, "I never watched MASH regularly but saw that episode when I was a kid and still think about it from time to time." A new adaptation of the tales of serial killer Hannibal Lecter, Hannibal made waves for its visceral gore and disturbing images in nearly every episode. It wasn't just bloody violence either, but unnerving concepts that made audiences queasy week after week. Still, there's one scene that went far above what the series regularly put on screen and left viewers wishing they'd never seen it. It goes down in the Season 2 episode To May Vaughn, when Lecter provides mind-altering drugs to a man in a deranged game. After Lecter tells him to show him how his father would slaughter animals on the farm, the man begins slicing off chunks of his own face and feeding them to his dogs. According to fan discussions on Reddit, while the scene was enough to horrify some viewers into giving up on the show completely, even some who stuck it out with the series thereafter still had a pretty visceral reaction to the violence. From the Red Wedding to various beheadings, HBO's fantasy epic Game of Thrones is littered with gore and other moments that could easily make this list. Looking at reactions from fans across social media, a few have stood out, including a scene from the Season 6 episode Home. Like so many other horrifying moments, it involved the bloody death of a character. But this time it was a double dose of disturbing, as it saw the end of 2 innocent lives in a fashion too uncomfortable for many to sit through. In the episode, Ramsay Bolton fears his father Roose will take away his inheritance after his wife gives birth to a new baby boy. To ensure his future, Ramsay betrays them all, murdering his father and feeding Walder and her baby to Winterfell hounds.
He's your brother.
I prefer being an only child.
Though we don't see their deaths firsthand, their blood-curdling screams and the sound of ripping flesh off Walder and her newborn baby were enough to send viewers over the edge. As one Reddit user put it, "I remember this scene, but I seriously think I repressed it a bit. I kind of recall some gruesome noises, but I forgot how graphic it was."